Lagos commuters returning to work last Wednesday from the Eid al-Fitr holidays were greeted with a devastating traffic gridlock around Victoria Island, Ikoyi, and surrounding areas following the closure of Independence Bridge for maintenance repairs. Our Rise Business correspondent Rhodes-Vivour sent in this report.
After 2 days of relaxation from public holidays to start the week, Lagosians returned to gridlock on Wednesday, April the 2nd. The cause? The closure of the Independence Bridge that links Victoria Island to Marina on Lagos Island and then Eko Bridge. The federal government had earlier announced the closure to enable repair work on the bridge, which it said would begin on April 1st and last until the end of May. The Federal Controller of Works for Lagos, Mrs. Olukorede Kesha, made this known in a statement on Monday, March the 31st. The impact of the closure was mostly felt in Victoria Island and Ikoyi and snarled every inbound commuter from surrounding areas going to work or taking their children to school or making deliveries. Arise News spoke with commuters using public and private transportation who expressed frustration at being in bumper-to-bumper traffic from 4 to 8 hours.
I'm coming from Obalende. We've been in traffic for 4 hours.
From Obalende?
Yes, sir. I'm going to Aja actually. 4 hours. And we are still at Ikoyi Bridge. We've not gone anywhere. So you can imagine the frustration and the depression we are going into. It's crazy. It's crazy. They have to do something about it. You know, we are going to be mad in these states. In this Lagos state, we'll be mad very soon. Our life. It's not fun at all. It's not.
This has been really problematic for us. Like, we have been in this traffic for over 4 hours now. Me and my we even parked somewhere to buy food, and when we came back, it was like as if they paused the traffic. We met the traffic in the same place.
Electric car behind us.
The same place. That man behind us is stressed. He's very tired, I'm sure, because of this traffic. Help us in this country, Nigeria.
Traffic for the whole day today.
Wow.
I've been in the traffic for all day today.
Like how many hours, sir?
Well, over 8 hours.
8 hours?
Yeah.
So, yes, sir.
From Ikoyi to Victoria, from Victoria Island to Ikoyi, to take my kids to school and to bring them back. I've taken over 8 hours of mine today.
Since around 10 a.m.
So where come from? Where are you?
From Yanakwaja.
From Yanakwaja to
No, from Oshodi. I'm going to Ikate. In fact, this road is very serious. They say they are tying road by now. In fact, some of our people, they even drop. They go back home. They can't get to their destination. By now, this is almost to 5. So,
after 5.
So I'm going to site. That's why I'm just. I don't know what to do. I'm confused. I've ate all my gala, all those mirrors. It's like stress too much. You don't know. Like, this is not government. They are tying road by this time around. Today, during the holiday, they have done that. Then there was less activities. But now people are rushing, can see it. In fact, this is not country. So I'm just tired.
Since 9:30.
So where are you coming from?
I'm coming from Adeniji Adele. So I'm going to the Juleki side.
Since 9:30?
Since 9:30. This is to 5 now. The government just help us, because this traffic is too much. So it's too much.
I'm coming from Oshodi. From Oshodi to Aja. I'm going to Aja.
How long are you spent now?
For the past five hours. 6. I've been here almost 5 to 6 hours. I don't know what is happening in the front. I know they say they are fixing road or something. I don't know how they will do it. They should do something about it. This is tedious. I don't know.
All right, so we deliberately waited until it was evening in order for us to be able to show how long this has been going on. As you can see, there's still people. See, that man just said they're not working, nothing is happening. But I mean, something is happening. They've lost. Yeah, right, true. So, he says they're not working. But I mean, again, just to remind people, the federal government did throw this notice out on Monday, March the 31st, that there would be work done and repeat. As you can see, they're frustrated. And look, it's standstill traffic. This is how it's been since 8 o'clock this morning. To quote the Jizza, panoramic view for you to sample. And And both sides of this Falomo Bridge heading to Ikoyi and also heading to Victoria Island. It's been this way now for going on, almost 12 hours. It's 7 o'clock now. It's been this way since 8 a.m. In the morning, so that's about 11 hours now. And what is worrisome to a lot of people is, does this continue for the duration of the rehabilitation of the Independence Bridge? The government says this is going to continue until the end of May. So we're probably thinking we should probably maybe check on some short lets and hotels to see if some of these commuters who can afford to stay the night will just park their cars and book a hotel and just wait till tomorrow morning. But the key question though is, how does this continue for the duration of the fixing of this bridge? You can see people, they're getting their steps, they're getting their cardio in, right? They're getting their exercise in. So that is the key. Do people give up on Thursday? Do they just stay home? This, of course, is going to be a boon for those who are working at home. Flexible hybrid work schedules. We will keep observing as things proceed here in Victoria Island, Lagos. For Arise News, Rhodes-Vivour.
Well, you certainly don't want to be involved in that sort of a situation ever again. However, there are fundamental questions thrown up by that situation. And joining us now to try to unpack some of them is Gbadebo Rhodes-Vivour, a certified architect, structural policy advisor, and former Lagos State Governorship candidate of Labour Party during the last general election. Good morning, GRV.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you in the
Good
studio
morning.
with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. It was a wild Wednesday, wasn't it? I don't know if you were caught up in that madness. Well, lucky you, like lucky Kachi, you know, like lucky me, like lucky Adesua. But then I saw some of your comments around it, and you have used very strong words to describe what happened. You used the word incompetence.
Extremely.
You used the word lack of empathy. You used the word lack of imagination.
Yeah.
You didn't see any empathy in what the governor said or the intervention from the Honorable Minister Dave Umahi. What are your thoughts generally, given the shutdown that happened in the heart of Lagos, where most of the economic activities do take place?
Thank you so much for that. I like the way you brought this in. I'm going to start with the fundamental problem that we have with our governance in Lagos and in Nigeria as a whole, which is the consciousness of governance, where the people that are at the helm of affairs almost believe that they are doing you a favor by providing leadership or services, as opposed to prioritizing the welfare of the citizen and ensuring that that welfare experiences minimum inconvenience. Now, these are two different approaches. If, as a government, I feel that I'm going to repair this bridge, and this is what matters in repairing the bridge, and to hell with what experience the citizenry is going to have to face, and you see it a lot happen in Lagos, as opposed to understanding and prioritizing the citizenry. It completely determines everything about your planning and your execution. It determines the contractor that you give that job to. It determines the timing with which you're going to do it. When are you going to do it? What's the best time to do it to minimize the inconvenience that Lagosians will face? It determines the way you do it, the timing for it. I urge every Nigerian to please Google the San Yuan Bridge in Beijing that was done in 43 hours. This was a 1,300-ton project where they dismantled a bridge and put another one in 43 hours. And you see the planning behind it. And it's not about, and this was done in 2015. I'm not talking about new technology that happened last year or this year, 2015. So it's about the thinking, the consciousness that says we need this type of contractor that can do this job in this amount of time, in this way that minimizes inconvenience. So in terms of scenario planning, this government failed woefully. Now, coming out to address the fact afterwards and saying you're sorry, you take responsibility, that's fine. But it's like, look at all the suffering that people have dealt with. Oh, you're sorry, that's great, you're sorry, cool. But you could have avoided this. You could have planned for it better. You could have ensured that this did not have to happen the way it did. So that's the first part, right? To your question. I feel that there's a deeper conversation that needs to be had. One on the need to improve the urban planning of Lagos, the need to improve the connectivity of Lagos, and the need to provide more housing stock to minimize the amount of movement that people need to move, right? And when people look at this kind of situation where you have this one-way movement that's constantly happening in Lagos, you see that it affects the entire state because you have people coming from Oshodi, you have people coming from Alimosho, all going to different parts on this one axis, as opposed to creating a decentralized Lagos where everything should be around you. There are businesses that are thriving in your immediate environment. You are also connecting the state better. You are ensuring that we are using water transportation and normalizing it. This is a failure in relation to all the talk about the multimodal transport system. And even when you think about the communication of it, the government should have known that this would have affected the state the way it did. And we should have been talking about this a month, 2 months before. There should have been better communication. Your correspondent said that they issued out notices when?
On Monday.
And then you are blaming people that, oh, we issued notice, you should have known better. No. This is a state that houses almost 22 million human beings. The government is collecting data. I know that they do collect data on traffic movement. They should have been better informed, and the scenario planning for this should have been much better if they prioritize the well-being of the citizenry. But if that is not a factor, their focus is, we are repairing the bridge, it's an emergency, and we are doing it, so be grateful and be happy.
Now
Just one moment, just to quickly address that I quickly fact-checked you on the Beijing's San Yuan Bridge, and you were very correct. It says here in 2015, the original bridge was demolished and replaced in 43 hours. The replacement was constructed as a single prefabricated piece and installed in place of the original 43 hours.
Yes, but I wanted to follow up on two things that you said. Because the Minister of Works, David Umahi, has said that he was unaware of the closure of the Independence Bridge. Of course, this was a federal government decision, not a state government decision. And while speaking to the media, he said that the Controller of Works in Lagos, Mrs. Olukorede, had made this decision unilaterally. So how do you feel that this reflects on how government is working if the minister is saying that he's unaware, and also if this decision is made without possibly the knowledge or the knowing of the state government as well? Because you've spoken about, did you call it incompetence or?
Yes.
Incompetence. So how do you think this reflects? But also, you were talking about Lagos state and urban planning, and very recently Lagos has been, something that came up is a girl on social media saying that Lagos is smelling. And I've seen you have it's sort of back and forth in the past week with the Commissioner Tokunbo Wahab when it comes to Lagos state and urban planning. So how did you feel about this Lagos is smelling thing? Do you believe Lagos is smelling?
Okay, that's a good question, and I'll come back to that. But I want to start with your first part. If you watch, I think it was a Channel's interview where they interviewed Governor Sanwo-Olu. Right? So it was not just David Umahi. Governor Sanwo-Olu could have come and said, this was done without my knowledge. I'm completely unaware, I do not have any knowledge of this. Instead, he was actually explaining why it had to be done. He was explaining how they had been on this project for 3 years. He had been explaining how it's going to take 2 months, right? So in his explanation and his communication with the people of Lagos, it seemed like he was carried along. It seemed like he was happy with the way things were supposed to go. David Umahi, on the other hand, Honorable Commissioner, not Commissioner, Minister, David Umahi came and showed empathy. He showed also, I guess, being an engineer, could start to look at problems from a different point of view. But what I took, and I have to give credit for this, what I got from his messaging was a prioritization of convenience of the citizenry. I got that. So when you're solving a problem, you have to put up, okay, what are my priorities? Now, where the citizen comes on that list is how badly they will be affected. And when I also see how fast they put things back, at least in a temporary sort of, you see a person that has an understanding of what should be done. And that was completely at variance with Governor Sanwo-Olu's interview around the same time. So I put it back on the state government. Incompetence, poor scenario planning, a major bridge like this, there should be good collaboration. After all, we are not talking about a minister, a person that's in charge of this project that's sitting somewhere in Abuja. Person's in Lagos. There must be some communication. There must be that loop and that feedback mechanism for something that's going to affect the lives of so many Lagosians. So I put it back on the governor's table.
And also, sorry, the second part of my question, do you believe Lagos is swelling? You've been talking about Lagos.
I mean, the thing that brought about this most recent back and forth was the commissioner thinking that it is normal that an estate will have its waste cleared twice a month. And at the same time, turn around and say that, you know, they are working on these things and we should just bear with it, and Lagos is doing all these things, Lagos is not smelly. Only a pig will stay in that amount of filth for so long. And then you complain that people then take waste and dump it on the gutter, put it on the streets. Are they supposed to be around that waste for that long, right? So, I mean, there's so many problems that we have, and I've articulated this very clearly in terms of that topic. I've articulated it very clearly, my stance on it. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done in waste management sector. This was one of the major campaign points that I campaigned on, which is creating an open and transparent means by which people could plug in to the PSP system. You don't need to know anybody in Alausa or be a member of a political party or anything like that. You have a truck just the way you have an Uber. You have a car, it's inspected, you plug in. You don't need to go to Alausa for anything because there are so many underserved communities. And then the question also is this: do we honestly understand that there are a lot of people that cannot afford certain services? Now, if you understand that, what is the opportunity cost to the state? If as a state governor, I want to improve tourism and I want to generate a lot of income from that, it is in my interest for my city to smell good, right? It's in my interest to plant more trees. It's in my interest to cover our gutters. It's in my interest for the gutters and the water in the gutters not to be stagnant, right? Because all this then ties into flooding that potentially comes and all that. But I think I want to put that aside because the bigger issue that Nigerians face, Lagosians faced on Wednesday, also ties into the development of the city in terms of housing and housing stock. What you find the development of Lagos is development that's based solely on maximizing profit based on proximity to Lagos Central. Recently now, as you can see, they are filling Makoko and the community will be displaced. There is a good economic argument for that project, which is they'll be able to charge top dollar, 110 million naira flats and all of that. The developer will make money. I understand that. But we cannot run a city successfully if the decision making is only made on maximizing profit, when 70% of the people, at least, that reside in that city cannot afford these prices, right? So you see people moving far out and always coming back in, moving far out and coming back in. So the city cannot work as efficiently as it ought to. So the state needs to understand that they need to start providing truly affordable and accessible housing stock to also start to reduce the amount of commute that people are doing that allow the city to work more efficiently.
And I just want you to, because what you just said is very accurate, and it's a conversation that has been ongoing. The fact that we have all these high rises on the island, specifically Ikoyi and VI, but oftentimes your immediate environment has slums or people who are just probably petty working around the area. So you're living in an apartment that's costing you 50 to 60 million naira, but right down below you, you're afraid for your own security. Yeah. So what's the reality of the real estate that is coming up in these areas, especially because these are private-owned individuals. These are not government properties. And if at all the government, for instance, right opposite Eco Atlantic, you have a government building that's just right opposite, where you have I think it's military workers or something that live just right opposite Eco Atlantic. Now that infrastructure right there, if it was to be brought down and rebuilt, rent in that area will probably begin at 50 million naira.
Yes.
But right now, the people who live there are living there in a very affordable manner. So when you're looking out your building, you're wondering, we have the same view, so what exactly am I paying for? So what's the feasibility of the real estate coming up in Lagos? And then the Fourth Mainland Bridge, the Blue Line Railway, these are all projects that we've been hearing about since as far back as 2023. What is your assessment on how it's coming together? We know that in February, the government, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Lagos State governor, mentioned that parts of that project was included in Lagos State's budget. But again, these are conversations that we've been having. So what's your assessment? These are supposed to improve traffic situations, reduce traffic on the Third Mainland Bridge, Echo Bridges. Does it look like it's actually going to happen? They said 4 years, but
Thank you.
They said 4 years 2 years ago.
Yes, even further than that actually. The Fourth Mainland Bridge always comes up during election season, and then after a while it goes quiet, we don't hear about it. By 2026, you probably start hearing about it again. But let me address the housing conversation, because it's a very, very important one. It's very important. Let's start from the scale of the family. A lot of Lagosians don't go back home till the weekend. A lot of Lagosians. The father is either working and squatting somewhere in some kind of squatter. On the beaches, I know people that work in banks that live in shacks on the beaches and everything. They go back on the weekend. So you think about the family structure. I know that a lot of people might not think that this is important, but it is, because the future of the people that make up your social fabric, if a family structure is not doing the work it's supposed to do to guide and raise these children, you are going to have to deal with those consequences later on as a society. So that's the family structure. Coming to the bigger issue of where people are actually staying and how, we need to start to understand that we cannot be doing developments at the exclusion of people that do not have the kind of wealth or resources that you target. In England, when I was working, to get planning permission, you have to have a number of affordable units in the building that you are doing, no matter where it is. Now, what the architect or what the developer will do is the apartment that has the least nice views, or the apartment that's at the back, they'll just do something small, do like 4 or 5, and then it's ceded to the council. Or there's some kind of agreement where people that might not necessarily afford to live in that place can have access to that place. So you are building and creating an inclusive type of development aside an exclusionary type of development. And I think the state has to take that role, because the private sector is not going to take it. And you cannot blame the private sector for not taking it. That's where government comes in. We must ensure that the affordable housing is accessible and it is intentional. And I saw intentionality with Alhaji Lateef Jakande. I know I talk about him all the time, but there was a lot of intentionality with the way he created housing stock and allowed for a lot of people to be able to access housing. On to your other questions about Blue Line, the Fourth Mainland Bridge, I feel that Lagos will be in a better place if we put aside the Fourth Mainland Bridge, for now, and have a series of bridges that are connecting Ikorodu and Bejuleki foreshore, the Ikorodu foreshore, shorter bridges at the shorter length, and have a series of them. So you are creating multiple avenues to move out, as opposed to this kind of situation that we suffered on Wednesday, where you have very limited opportunities to leave the island and connect the mainland. And there are so many people, if you think about how you need to get to Ikorodu from the island, it is extremely inefficient when you set Lagos out on a map and look at it. So we need, I call them saddle bridges, right? So I feel that is a lot more efficient than having another long bridge that's coming from Ikorodu. The Blue Line, the government says they have it in their budget, they have to pay for it. I believe that our rail network is extremely important and should not be determined by the purse strings of government. We must open it transparently to the private sector. People that can afford to get this project done in an efficient and timely fashion, get to be the ones that are in charge of it. And the government is on there as a stakeholder to ensure that the pricing for it is affordable for the residents of Lagos. And they take the glory for having a Lagos that works better.
Are you saying that if you run in 2027 and you win and become governor of Lagos State, you will jettison the Fourth Mainland Bridge project?
Like I said, I will focus on building shorter bridges that connect the Kodu foreshore and Ibejuleki, right? And I feel that if you look at the traffic, now we have two long traffic directions.
Yeah.
We have, when you're going from the island, you're going to Ikeja side, is Hall. Now, going from the island down to Ajah is another menace, right? Because that place is exploding with development, with people living there, all for the sake of being more proximate to Lagos Central again. So my focus will be, to build those kind of bridges, saddle-like bridges, all across that's connecting these two spots of Lagos. When we do that, if we still need to do further connections, sure, we can look at that and do it for a major price.
Because a lot of people would think that the new coastal road will address the other end of your submission now, going to Ajah, going to Ekpe. The coastal road will...
The coastal road is a nice alternative.
Yep.
Even though I disagree with the means by which it was done, but it's a nice alternative. At the same time, we're talking about interconnectivity, right? Okay, so we have a road here, This is a nice alternative.
Yeah.
But I want to get there. I want to be able to get there as fast as possible. So we're talking about
Have you seen the design of the Fourth Mainland Bridge and where it's meant to connect?
Yes, but again, it's like having another third mainland bridge. It's long span of road. It's you want, in a city like Lagos, you want interknitting. Think New York. Think about how New York is designed in terms of a block and so many roads that are going around it. And even the train system, right? It's about interknitting, not just straight lines. You want to interknit as much as possible.
Yeah, but
that's
New
what I'm
York
talking
is
about.
also a long part of road now. You have Broadway.
No,
it's
of
the
course.
longest road.
I mean, it's just
I
like
think it's the longest road in North
you're talking
America.
about one road.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying about interconnectivity.
Yeah, it's just like France. It's just like in Paris. You have the Champs-Elysees, a long, beautiful.
Yeah.
But then also, there's a lot of smaller
That's great. I mean,
roads.
New York, I think New York is very lucky, particularly Manhattan, in that it was planned. It's a perfect grid.
Lots of traffic.
There is still a lot of traffic.
Yes.
But I want to talk about, because I think something that you've brought up that I think is very important is that when we speak about what is going on with the traffic, with people not being able to go home until the weekend, is these hidden costs to the individual and to society. Now, when we talk about traffic in Lagos, we've spoken about people not being able to make it to hospital. We've spoken about people making it to hospital, not being able to afford the bills and dying. And these are happening.
To the airports.
Yeah, not being able to make it to the airport and missing your flight. People having emergencies, not being able to even get out of their homes. For you, particularly when we look at what happened on Wednesday, because some people have described it as traumatizing, just, being stuck, being in your car, being unsure about how you're going to get to where you're supposed to get to for hours on end, walking home, people staying in their offices until the next morning and still having to come back to work. When we think about the cost to the Nigerian person, to the Lagosian, their health, their mental health and societal cost, what do you feel that the government is doing enough, and do you think they understand these costs beyond just time and traffic?
And that's why I started the conversation the way I did, by saying that there must be a shift in consciousness. And I talk a lot about empathy. It's not just a fluffy word. It's about understanding the daily reality of people and prioritizing that daily reality in your policy formulation and policy implementation, right? And you've highlighted some of this cost that we're looking at. I mean, even there was something in what you were saying where people need to get to the hospital on time. Let's even say that we forgive everything that happened on Wednesday. They did not see it coming, blah, blah. Let's talk about a regular day in Lagos where you have an emergency and you cannot get to the hospital on time. Now, there should be an emergency unit in every ward in Lagos, an ambulance that's properly fitted. There should be a control center where when you call, you can know where this person is calling from, and that control center is sending that call directly to the ward that is closest to that person. What I'm talking about is not rocket science. It's not. And people will need, there's so many people that will not needlessly need to die, right? Then you have the issue of, okay, you get to a hospital and getting proper health care and all of that. Again, prioritizing that life of that citizen and that life being all important and valuable completely changes the way you do governance. And I feel that this government, probably because of the way they get into office, because I say again, the way you come into power determines how you handle power. If I came into power just by virtue of the people putting me there because I don't have the political muscle or blah, 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 I know that it's only the people that can keep me there. So my entire focus is on making my people happy because I need them to get me back in. If I believe that I got into office because I have the money, I'm a big man, I'm a strong man, then my focus is just, okay, I did this big road, be happy with it. I did this bridge, be happy with it. It's a different mentality, it's a different consciousness. And this is why I keep talking about servant leadership. We need to move away from this big manism that we've experienced for a long time. And another issue, and I hope Nigerians can see it plainly because this is not even a subjective matter. When you look at the person in charge of the Senate, you might disagree, but our president, FCT minister, we are suffering from a big manism syndrome where it's about, I am me, I rule, it is my right. And you see power being thrown left and right. And we need to move away from that to servant leadership. That's my opinion.
How do you juxtapose servant leadership with what a lot of people would say a system of godfatherism? How do you merge both? Because I don't think they can exist in the same place.
They cannot. That's why I cannot join the APC. People will say I've moved from party to party, but I just simply can't.
Should we believe you? Jando said the same thing. He's back there now.
Okay, but look at my antecedents with Jando. That's what I say, boy, he came from the APC now. It's like saying, I'm not going to be a Rhodes-Vivour. I'll be a Rhodes-Vivour.
Like, you can be like Wiki and be invited to work for you.
No.
For your country.
Look at my antecedents. No. Well, there are some people, it's like a leader thinking that they can loot the country and develop the country at the same time. It's a lie that they lie to themselves. You can't do it. You have to be honest with yourself first. If you want to make all this impact, you know that you have to find the money from somewhere. That money, to access it, you need to block loopholes. Now, if you're in a system that is enabled by godfatherism, there are certain loopholes you cannot block. You can ask Governor Akinwumi Ambode. The man did a lot. He had a lot of visions for Lagos. And unfortunately, it did not pan out the way he did because there are some loopholes that had to be blocked. So it cannot coexist. And that's why I feel that people need to take elections a lot more seriously, and we need to understand what is at stake, because after that first election, for 4 years, the consequences are on you.
Well, unfortunately, we have to run now. I was going to ask you about, Independence Bridge has to be fixed, and it will take, 2 months. I was going to ask you.
It doesn't have to take 2 months, sir. It doesn't. Please, you saw the bridge.
Yeah.
Then, Governor Sanwo-Olu, Umahi, if they don't understand how, they call the CECC, or other construction companies, say, we want to minimize inconvenience to Lagosians. Show us how we can do it.
Safety is very important.
Extremely important. Yeah. I completely agree with that. But then this has been on 3 years. So let's figure it out.
All right, GRV, we want to thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Thank
Brilliant
you so
submissions.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you.
Wish you well.
Thank you so much.